Well, hi again, everyone. We welcome you to another edition of the fifth quarter as part of our Three Browns coverage. I'm Dave DeNatale, along with Jay Crawford. And Jay, amongst the things, if you had told me when the season started that, okay, the Browns are 6-6 because their offense suddenly got anemic, would not be one of the things I would have thought coming into this year. But you know, we saw it certainly last night in Baltimore, 16-10. The Ravens come up with the win, and the Browns are now not out of it, but heading into this bye week with a lot of questions after this loss to Baltimore.
Yeah, mathematically they're not out of it, but they're out of it. When you're 6-6 and in last place in your division, and you're 0-5 against the teams that are in contention. Actually, they're 1-5 because the Bengals are in contention too, and the Bengals look like they've figured out their problems.
Right.
They're out of it. At 6-6, a team isn't out of it, but you have to look at the whole picture. You have to look at what the team has done over the last 7 weeks to get here. Once they've gone over 17 points. You're just not going to win football games in the NFL when you're scoring 10, 13, 14, 17, and you're doing that consistently. The shame of it is the defense last night may have played its best game of the year. They stopped a juggernaut offense in its tracks. I don't know. I'd have to do a lot of digging to find out. I can't remember the last team that intercepted the ball 4 times and did not throw any interceptions and lost. I mean, that's almost impossible to do, but they did it.
I know ESPN stats and info, not about the Browns didn't have an interception, but the fact that they picked off 4 passes. Teams normally had been 37-0 in that scenario.
Yeah, there you go.
So much for that. The Browns destroyed that statistic by virtue of losing last night. So if you're Dr. Crawford here and you've got to diagnose what's wrong with this offense and why has it suddenly gone cold here in 7 weeks, I have a feeling there are going to be a couple of suspects here or a couple of things in your diagnosis. Let's start first because everybody will want to start with the quarterback. What were your impressions of Baker Mayfield last night?
I won't make any lasting judgments off anything I see from Baker this year, and smart people won't because he's just completely banged up. I blame Stefanski for putting him out there. The eyes don't lie. He's never going to tap out. He's never going to come to Coach Stefanski and say, Kev, I can't go. I'm just too banged up. We know he's not going to do that. He's just not that guy. So it has to be left up to the adult in the room. And the adult in the room has to look at things and see what the offensive production has been since his shoulder injury. And he has to realize this is clearly not getting better. It's going to take an entire offseason to mend the things that are wrong with him. The heel, I think the most underreported and under-talked about injury is the heel. It affects everything you do. When you throw, you're pushing off. When you run, obviously, it's affecting the heel. All of that being said, if I'm going to pick, and this is rough because when you play the blame game, typically you divvy out, well, it's this percent, this percent. I will boil it down to one thing. Our scheme doesn't work. Period. End of discussion. The 3 tight end experiment is over. Why does one team in the NFL use that? Are they setting the world on fire with their offense? Of course not. It's extremely easy to defend. And I don't mean easy like matchup wise. I mean schematically, it's very easy to defend. When you've got 3 tight ends in the game, your running game. Now, occasionally they'll send Njoku on go routes and they'll get him further down the field. Maybe you'll see Harrison do it here or there. But really, what you have with this offense is a billboard that says everything we do is going to be 10 yards up from the line of scrimmage, 10 yards and back to the ball. So it's very easy to defend. I have never seen a team load up the box like the Ravens loaded up the box and have an offense not exploit it more with over-the-top stuff. It's because this offense isn't built to do that. So the jig is up. The NFL has caught up to what the Browns are doing with these three tight ends. And by the way, and I've talked about this since last year. I made it a point in one of my columns to write about it, and I've been screaming about it all year this year. The fact that they never have Chubb and Hunt on the field at the same time is a disaster. It's beyond laughable at this point. You've got two of the most dynamic running backs in the NFL. They have different skill sets. When you just put one of them on the field, you tell the defense how you're going to attack them. Oh, it's Hunt. We might get things on the outside. It's Chubb. Log in the middle. Block up the middle. So it is time. It is beyond time that Stefanski lets go of the play calling reins. He doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it. Now, whether or not a new play caller and a new set of eyes can do anything at all with this scheme, because this defense now, it's set in concrete. You are what you are. 12 games into the season, you're not going to go rip it up and suddenly become a run and shoot. And I'm not for a second proposing they do that. What I'm here to tell you is 3 tight ends in the game doesn't work. It just doesn't. There's a reason we're the only team doing it. So it can't be any more clear to me. I don't think it's the personnel at all. And the reason I say that is because this is the same team that was throwing points up like a pinball machine last year.
Right.
It's the same guys.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden, and the fact that Baltimore said, we're going to take away what you do best, and they did it. They did to the Browns what the Dolphins did to the Ravens a few weeks ago in primetime. They went cover 0 and blitzed hard and just made sure that all they had to do is cover for 2 seconds. And that's the formula to beating the Ravens. It's out of the bag. Now the blueprint is out there. You will see. And by the way, the Browns tried that a time or two last night with great success. You're never going to put a complete lid on Lamar Jackson. But the Browns played him defensively last night about as well as you can. Yes, he got his running yards, but he threw 4 picks. So you'll take that trade-off any day. The problem is the offense cashed in on 4 turnovers with 3 points. L every time. L. Yep. So this offense is beyond broken. The fact that we're at week 12 and they're 6-6 and there haven't been more alarm bells going off inside the building is alarming to me, quite frankly. And I don't think that they're going to telegraph when they're concerned about their offense, but you can figure it out when you turn the TV on and nothing has changed. And that's the definition of insanity. Just keep running the same system. Keep running 3 tight ends. Keep refusing to throw the ball to wide receivers. Continue to have Chubb or Hunt in the game and never both. And why is Felton in the game on a critical play and he drops a critical ball when you've got Kareem Hunt on the sidelines? When the broadcasters are trying to be nice, but they're saying, I don't get that. What they're really saying is, what the hell is going on?
Right.
And that's what the fans are saying now. And now you've got more drama. Kareem Hunt's dad is chiming in, playing the role of OBJ's dad. More unnecessary drama. But you know what? As long as you continue to underperform and as long as you continue to throw those kind of eggs out there, you're going to get criticism from all corners. That's what you get.
There were a couple other things that bothered me about the offense last night. You mentioned Felton's drop and even Donovan Peoples-Jones on that opening drive when Jack Conklin was still in there and Baker actually had time to throw because the Ravens at that point weren't going all out blitz like you mentioned they ended up doing. Donovan Peoples-Jones dropped a pass that would have gotten them to the 10-yard line. I know they got close enough for a 46-yard field goal and missed. It's another problem. But it's the self-inflicted wounds. Drop passes. And
all kinds of drops.
Jay, pre-snap penalties. They're beating themselves.
So when we had the 12 men on the field debacle, which I'm still not sure how that even happens. You take a timeout. 3 chances we gave them. 3 chances. when you allow drives to continue like that turn into points, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Right.
And there are more and more things that are leading me to question the coaching than the actual roster. This is a fine roster. I mean, we've been more snake bit by injuries than any team in the NFL. I challenge anyone to prove me wrong. We've had more key players miss more snaps than any team in the league. I don't even think it's close. Conklin comes in for a series and a play. He's done for probably the season.
Right.
It's absolutely astounding to me how much this team has had to battle through injury. But you can't complain about that. This is a Warriors game. It's the NFL, and that's going to happen. The problem is, even with these injuries, I will show you four plays that instead of being 6-6, we're 9-3 and in first place. And the drops are unbelievable. The drops are, and you know what? No one was immune from them last night. Every single player that touched the ball on a pass at some point dropped the ball. You can't have that. You just can't have it. So I think it's pretty clear they know they're done too. To back to what I said before, at 6-6 mathematically, of course you're not finished. In the NFC, you'd be in the thick of things, but they're not in the NFC. They're in the AFC North, where every team is on top of them, where now the Ravens have a 2.5 game lead and there's 5 to go.
Right.
So you're fast running out of opportunities to win the division. And the reason I can say with certainty they're done is look at the schedule. They are 4-0 against teams with losing records. 4-0. They are 2-6 against teams 500 or better. Those are the teams you have to beat if you want to play into January. And they haven't done that. Those are the 5 games we have left, all of them, except for Pittsburgh, who is at 500. All of the other teams are above 500 and in the playoff race. So suddenly you're going to tell me a 6-6 mediocre team that's beaten bad teams this year, and that's it, is going to find a way to rip off 5 straight wins against 5 winning teams that are all in the playoff thick? It's not logical. So the fact that anybody can sit there and say, we got a chance, we can do this. I mean, it would take a miracle. I'm not going to sit here and say there's no chance whatsoever, but slim and none left town. And I would place their chances at making the playoffs now in the low single digits. I don't see a path for them to get there now. The Packers, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers. You're lucky if you win 3 of those. So let's just give them 3 wins. Now you're 9-8. You're going home at 9-8.
Right. Not 9-8. You barely make that graphic that is on the playoff picture. You're on that outside looking in graphic that where you need 27 things to happen on a weekend in order to creep into the playoff picture.
It's not. It's not going to happen. My hope now is we use these 5 games for something. Okay. Let's not waste them and go out there and tank and finish the season at 6-11 and go home. It's important that you finish on a winning note. They still want to win these games. But my theory is you've got to learn something. We're at 6-6 and we're doing the same things offensively that we were doing in week 1 when they weren't enough then. So what you have to do now is you have to use these 5 games to get meaningful information. Is Alex Van Pelt the answer? Let's give him a 5-game trial run. And if he's not, let's find an offensive coordinator that can call plays next year. There's a reason head coaches don't call offensive plays. Andy Reid's the league's offensive genius. He doesn't call plays.
Right.
So let's just parse out the jobs the way they're intended. You have an offensive coordinator for a reason. Let him coordinate the offense. Give him the offense for 5 weeks. You've got a bye week to make changes and institute some things. Let's make this next week useful. Change things up. Come out next week against Baltimore, and you got a perfect experiment here. You've got the control in the experiment. You're playing 2 games against the same team in back-to-back weeks. We saw what Stefanski could muster. Now let's give Van Pelt a chance and see what he can do.
I would normally ask in this scenario, gee, Jay, is it time to sit Baker down? But as you said at the break, he's not sitting until he's ordered to sit. So there ain't going to be any quarterback changes. Baker's going to get 2 weeks to get healthy and go out and play. Bad heel, bad shoulder, bad everything else. Be darned.
Yeah, look, I am not going to advocate a quarterback change because of an injury that is obvious to everybody. That's up to the head coach to do. He sees him in practice every day. He sees him on the field. He talks to him. He knows where he is. That's up to Kevin Stefanski to come up to Baker Mayfield and say, we're going to sit you for a few weeks, bud. You've got to get well. The run's over. We're not going to get there this year. Now, this is a big season for Baker, obviously, because he's playing for dollars. And at this rate, he's playing at a $12 to $15 million level at best. And you're not going to franchise him because it's going to take too much of your salary away from your salary cap. So I think to franchise him would be a silly move. You either have to fish or cut bait with him. And if you're going to fish with him, you got to do it at the right price. And the right price is far lower now than it was last year at this time. Now, I do think that Baker is, again, just like everybody else in this offense, he's a hostage to what they're doing. He's running the plays that are called. He made some poor throws last night. There's no question about it. But I still see too many times Baker making throws. They talked about this in the broadcast last night. He's making throws that a handful of guys in this league can make. Mm-hmm. That's it. So I'm not going to judge him when he's, got 4 injuries and he's banged up the way he is. That'd be like judging Shane Bieber on his last 3 starts before he went on the DL last year. What did he do? We were watching him saying, this guy clearly isn't right. This is not Cy Young, Shane Bieber. Well, Turns out he had a terrible back injury and ended up missing most of the season. Well, let's not judge Shane Bieber on that. He's banged up. He's injured. And I love Chris Collinsworth's point last night about the violent throwing motion of Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Not the first time, by the way, that he has made that comparison. John Elway is the guy that comes to mind. Elway also had that violent step and throw delivery that was, really violent. A lot of torque on your upper body and a lot of force generated from your lower body. So he's not a guy. And Collinsworth astutely pointed out, maybe they want to put Baker in a situation where he's throwing from a standing position. Yeah. Problem with that is when your offensive line is porous as they've been because of the injuries, that's like sitting a fish in a barrel and giving 100 guys a rifle. So you got to move him out. That's why I do think if they make the decision to bench Baker because of the injuries, I'm fine with that. We're not going anywhere. Let's just move on and try to see what changes need to be. What does this offense need? We know they need a wide receiver, okay? And a new scheme, by the way, would bring the wide receivers more into play. No team uses their wide receivers less than Cleveland does. No team. So when you have a Ravens defensive coordinator like Martindale, who's brilliant, and he says, we're going to stop what they do. We'll put 9 guys in the box.
Right.
We're going to take away their bread and butter. Now you have to go to your fastball. If you're a curveball pitcher, you got to go to your fastball. If you're a fastball pitcher, you got to go to curveball. Got to have 2 pitches. Last night, the Browns proved they have 1 pitch, ground. Right. And when the defense takes that away and now tells you, we don't think you can score 16 points if you have to throw the ball. And they're right. That's because your scheme is not built that way. But the blueprint on the Browns is take the run game away and you're done. The Patriots did it. And the Patriots were able to do it. What was interesting about the Patriots game, they came out and they said they're going to run the ball. So their defense that first series was geared to stop the run. Mm-hmm. And the Browns were good enough on that drive to go down the field and score a touchdown. Well, Bill Belichick quickly switched that up. They said, nope, now we're going to drop back. We're going to cover the receivers. And now we're going to see if they can run it. Well, they couldn't do anything the rest of the game. They didn't score a point. So you're one-dimensional right now. You need a wide receiver. You have to have someone that can take the top off of a defense. I thought Schwartz was that guy. He allegedly has world-class speed. Haven't seen it from him. He's not taking the back end off of defenses. Jarvis Landry's definitely not that guy. He's your slot guy, going to go over the middle, sure hands. How many passes did they throw him last night that were under 5 yards? Come on.
Right.
It's gotta change.
It's getting pretty crazy with that. All right, my man. Great insights as always. Enjoy the bye week. We'll do this.
Yeah.
We'll do this in 2 weeks.
When you consider what the Buckeyes did, this was probably one of the worst football weekends Ohio football fans have seen, obviously not counting the Bengals and the Bearcats. All the football now is being played in Cincinnati. That's how funny is that? The Bengals look like they're going to contend for the division. The Bearcats are going to make the playoffs. The Buckeyes are out. The Browns are out. What time does Guardian season start? And I can't even get excited about that. By the way, way off topic, but if I see one more MLB push alert that a team has signed a free agent and it's not the Guardians, everybody's signing players and the Guardians are sitting back. We like our $40 million payroll. Let's give that another shot.
Our 40-man roster is good, Jay.
Oh, we need some help, man. We need some help.
Help us. Right. Help us.
We need Dan Gilbert's money with the Guardians.
What's new, everybody?
See you, brother.
My friend, thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching the fifth quarter right here on WKYC.com.